Let me ask you something. Why would a man with vision stop to entertain what doesn't walk with purpose? Why would a man climbing a mountain answer every whisper from the valley? You call it arrogance, you call it rejection, you call it ego, but maybe, just maybe, he's not ignoring you out of pride. He's ignoring you because he's becoming something greater than your understanding. Because sometimes, when a man goes silent, he's not lost, he's locked in. You see, before we talk about why a high-value man ignores women, we have to talk about what a high-value man really is. Because today, too many people confuse the loud with the strong, the flashy with the focused, the rich with the righteous. Let me break it down for you. A high-value man is not defined by his bank account, though he might have one. He's not defined by the suit he wears, the car he drives, or how many followers he's got on a screen. That's decoration. That's noise. A high-value man is carved from something deeper. Character. It's how he stands when no one is watching. It's how he treats people who can do nothing for him. It's the way he shows up, not just when it's convenient, but when it's costly, when he's tired, when it's raining, when quitting would be easy. He's not perfect. No, he's principled. He doesn't need attention because his identity doesn't come from applause. He's not moved by validation because he knows who he is and, more importantly, whose he is. He's anchored. You walk past him on the street and might not notice it first, but there's a stillness to him, a weight in his silence. You feel it in your bones. Like standing near fire you didn't see burning, but you can feel the heat. He's the kind of man who doesn't chase trends because he's building legacy. He doesn't chase people because he attracts purpose. People wonder, why is he so calm, so reserved, so unfazed? It's because he's not out here reacting to the noise. He's listening to the call, the one only he can hear. That calling that wakes him up in the morning before the sun. That calling that makes him say no to things most men crave because he's already seen the vision. He's not loud, but his presence shakes rooms because high value isn't a label, it's a lifestyle. And it's earned not by what you show, but by what you withhold, by how you carry yourself, by what you're willing to walk away from, by how committed you are to your higher self, even when the world offers you a cheaper version. That's a high-value man. And when you understand that, you understand that ignoring isn't disrespect, it's direction. Let me tell you something personal. There was a time in my life when I had every reason to give up, tired, broke, invisible to the world, but something deep inside me kept whispering, get up, son, you got work to do. Not for the world, not for the crowd, for the calling. And that's what separates a man of the moment from a man of mission. You see, a high-value man don't wake up to impress. He don't wake up to scroll, to chase, to post. He wakes up because something inside him is bigger than him. Purpose. And once you've been touched by purpose, really touched, pleasure don't hit the same no more. The parties feel empty. The flings feel foolish. The distractions feel disrespectful. Because you realize when you're chasing greatness, you can't be stopping for every pretty thing that smiles your way. You don't trade a throne for a thrill. A man with a mission knows that every moment counts. And when he gives his energy to something or someone, he's not just giving time, he's giving pieces of his becoming. That's not cheap. That's why high-value men don't get caught up in surface-level games. Not because they think they're better than anyone, but because they've seen where they're going. And when you've tasted vision, lust starts to look like a distraction. Tension starts to feel like noise. He's not avoiding women. He's not cold. He's just committed to that business he's building, committed to that degree he's grinding for, committed to healing the wounds his father left behind. committed to becoming the man he needed when he was 15. And you know what? That kind of commitment, it costs. It costs weekends. It costs casual flings. It costs being misunderstood by people who think silence means weakness. It costs looking like a ghost in a room full of noise because your mind is building while theirs is wandering. But that's the thing about purpose. It teaches you to stop chasing moments and start building mountains. It teaches you that pleasure is short-lived, but purpose will feed you in the dark. It'll hold you when the world walks out. It'll give your pain a place to live, and then turn that pain into power. So when you see a man who's focused, who doesn't bite at every opportunity to flirt, to flex, to be seen, I'll call him rude. Don't call him distant. Call him devoted, because that man isn't running from women. He's running toward destiny, and destiny don't flirt. Destiny don't play games. Destiny demands sacrifice, and only the disciplined ever make it through the door. There's a price to focus, a heavy one. See, the world will celebrate you when you're visible, but question you when you disappear. But a man who's serious about his future knows that visibility ain't the same as value. Sometimes the most valuable work happens in the shadows, when no one is watching, when no one is clapping. Focus is lonely. You gotta be willing to say no when the crowd is saying yes. You gotta be willing to let people call you cold while you're on fire on the inside. Imagine a man climbing a mountain, step after step, stone after stone, bleeding through his palms, snow in his face, wind screaming at his back. He ain't stopping to answer small talk. He's not looking down to wave at every admirer. Because when you're climbing something sacred, everything below you feels like a delay. People think focus is easy, but the truth is, it's violent. It's war. War between who you are and who you're called to be. Between what feels good now and what's worth it later. You think ignoring temptation is weak. Nah, that's the real strength. It's easy to say yes to attention. It's easy to chase the temporary comfort of a compliment or a connection. But every yes to something small is a no to something greater. And a high-value man, he counts his yeses like currency because he knows the wrong investment can cost him years. He understands that peace isn't passive, it's protected. And focus is how you build the life people later ask you about. You think Michael Jordan became a legend by answering every call, every text, every invite? You think Martin Luther King had time to flirt when he was carrying the weight of a dream on his back? You think a man building a future has time to chase a moment? Yeah. Focus demands isolation. It demands discipline. It demands ignoring not because you don't care, but because you do. You care about the dream. You care about the family you haven't even built yet. You care about the man you promised yourself you'd become. So when people ask, why doesn't he respond? Why doesn't he give her attention? Why does he act like he doesn't notice? It's not pride, it's purpose. Because when you're locked in, really locked in, you start moving different. You stop wasting energy. You stop explaining your silence. Because your results will speak for you. And a man who's committed to building something bigger than himself knows that anything that costs him his focus might just cost him everything. Now let's clear something up, because the world will look at a focused man and say, he's not interested. They'll call him distant, call him cold, say he must not like women, say he's too into himself. But they're wrong. It's not that he doesn't care. It's that he cares too much about becoming the man he's destined to be. And that requires something most folks don't want to give. Time, patience, discipline. See, we live in a fast food culture. Everything right now, right here. Swipe right. Quick reply. Fast love. Instant dopamine. But a high-value man doesn't feed off sugar. He's cooking a full-course meal. And that kind of meal takes time. He's not ignoring women because he sees no value in them. He's ignoring distraction because he sees the value in himself, in his future, his goals, his becoming. He knows that if he sacrifices the long term just to feel good in the moment, he's robbing his future self of something sacred. Delayed gratification. That's not avoidance. That's maturity. When a high-value man looks at a woman, he's not just thinking about what she looks like. He's thinking, can she walk with me? Can she grow with me? Can she carry weight? Or is she just here for the view? He's not looking for validation. He's looking for vibration alignment. And if he doesn't feel it, he doesn't force it. Not because he's passive, but because he refuses to fake interest just to fill silence. He's not chasing, he's choosing. Because there's a difference between being available and being ready. A man locked into his vision may not respond to every wink, every compliment, every message. Not because he's blind to beauty, but because he understands that not every beautiful thing is meant to be his. And if it's not rooted in purpose, if it doesn't elevate him, if it doesn't match his pace, he'll let it pass. That's strength. You see, when a man is still building, when he's still in the fire, he knows that love, when forced too soon, can melt what he's molding. So he waits, he watches, he works, because he knows the right connection at the wrong time is still the wrong thing. So don't confuse his silence for disinterest. Don't confuse his delay for detachment. That man isn't cold. He's cultivating. He's preparing the soil so when love does come, it lands on something solid. And when the time is right, when the foundation is firm, when the mission is stable and his soul is clear, he'll give everything, all his heart, all his presence, all his power. But until then, he waits, he builds, he delays, not because he lacks desire, but because he understands that desire without discipline will always lead to destruction. Let me tell you something that most people don't realize until it's too late. Energy is currency. And just like money, you can spend it wisely, or you can go broke giving it to things that don't pour back into you. High-value men, they don't spend energy like it's free. They guard it, they invest it, because they've learned sometimes the thing that drains you the most ain't a job or a failure or a hardship. It's a conversation you shouldn't be in, a person you shouldn't be around, a situation that didn't deserve your time, your peace, or your power. You see, every time you engage, every time you explain yourself to someone who's committed to misunderstanding you, every time you flirt for validation you don't need, every time you argue to prove a point that won't grow you, you're spending energy. And a high-value man knows not every invitation deserves an RSV. Not every DM deserves a response. Not every curve, smile, or compliment deserves your focus. Because here's the truth, your attention is powerful. And whatever you give it to, you're feeding. Whatever you look at long enough, you start to move toward. And a man who's building his life, building his purpose, building his name, he knows he can't afford to leak energy into empty places. He don't ghost people to be cruel. He disappears to stay centered. He's not avoiding connection, he's auditing it. He's asking, does this serve my soul, or does it just scratch my ego? Because if it doesn't bring clarity, it brings clutter. And a cluttered mind can't build anything great. You ever walk into a room full of noise, lights, distractions, and try to think, try to dream, try to pray? You can't. Because your energy is being pulled, poked, scattered. So a high-value man learns to pull back, to conserve, to protect his internal peace like it's gold, because it is. And this world that try to make you feel guilty for that, call you dry, call you heartless, call you arrogant. But let me tell you, it's not arrogance, it's alignment. Because every yes you give without discernment is a no to your purpose. And if you keep saying yes to everything, eventually you'll lose yourself in the noise. A high-value man understands that focus, health, and peace, they're not luxuries. They're lifelines. So when you see a man who seems distant, reserved, selective, he's not playing hard to get. He's playing for keeps. He's spending his energy on becoming, on sharpening his mind, on healing his heart, on preserving what's left of his flame in a world trying to blow it out. Because the truth is, energy, once it's gone, it don't come back the same. So a man who knows his value protects it like his future depends on it, because it does. Let's get something straight, crystal clear. Women are not the enemy. A high-value man doesn't walk around with bitterness in his heart. He's not carrying grudges from rejection or nursing wounds from the past like trophies. He's not online shouting about how all women are this or all women are that. That's not strength. That's unhealed pain pretending to be pride. See, a man of value has nothing but respect for women because he respects himself. He sees women as sacred, as intelligent, as powerful. But he also sees them as people, not prizes, not problems. He doesn't put women on pedestals, and he doesn't put them in boxes. He sees them as part of the human experience, equal, complex, divine. But here's the thing. Just because he respects women doesn't mean he's obligated to engage with all of them. Just because he admires the feminine doesn't mean he's ready to be pulled off his path by it. That's where people get it twisted. A high-value man doesn't ignore women because he hates them. He ignores distractions, no matter what form they come in. If a situation doesn't align with his spirit, if a connection doesn't reflect the depth he's looking for, he's not going to entertain it just to be liked. He's not going to perform interest just to avoid being misunderstood, because he knows real respect isn't about flattery, it's about clarity. He respects a woman enough to be honest with his silence. He respects her enough to not fake consistency he can't maintain. He knows that dragging someone along just to feel needed is cruelty in disguise. And above all, he knows you can love women, you can honor women, you can admire women, and still choose not to pour your energy into every woman you meet. That's not cold, that's conscious. A high-value man has mothers, sisters, daughters, women he'd lay his life down for. So when he chooses solitude, when he chooses focus, when he chooses purpose over pleasure, it's not an indictment on women. It's a declaration of where he is in his journey. He's not avoiding love, he's preparing for it. He's not denying connection, he's defining what kind of connection deserves the fullness of his presence. And listen, a man who truly values women doesn't chase them blindly. He prepares himself to lead, to protect, to provide, to be present. So if you see him distant, quiet, dialed in, understand it's not rejection, it's refinement. He knows a woman isn't his enemy, but he also knows the wrong relationship at the wrong time with the wrong mindset can sabotage everything he's building. So he honors her by working on him. And one day, when the mission aligns, when the calling is clear, when the man he's become is ready for the woman he's been praying for, he won't have to chase. He'll recognize her, and she'll recognize him. Every man comes to a crossroads, a moment where the world whispers one thing, but his spirit demands another, where everything around him is calling for comfort, for compromise, for fitting in, but something deeper inside him is calling for greatness. That's the call, the quiet one, the one you can only hear when you cut off the noise, turn off the world, and sit in the silence. That's where a high-value man is born, not in applause, not in attention, but in the stillness where he decides that what's ahead of him means more than what's around him. See, life ain't asking you to be perfect. It's asking you to be present. It's asking you to be committed, to be disciplined enough to let go of what's easy, and brave enough to step into what's necessary. And that's what separates men who watch life from men who build it, men who react from men who rise. Because rising ain't always dramatic. Sometimes rising looks like saying no when your whole body craves yes. Sometimes it's walking away from beauty because you see the trap behind it. Sometimes it's being misunderstood, mocked, even laughed at because you chose mission over momentum. But the real ones, they don't flinch because deep down they know you weren't made to chase every woman, every trend, every temporary thrill. You were made to walk in purpose, to carry legacy, to build a name your children will be proud to speak. And to do that, you've got to rise above noise, above games, above the urge to be liked, needed, wanted. You've got to walk like a man who's already seen the finish line, who's felt the weight of the crown even before it touched his head. Because the crown is heavy, and only the discipline can carry it without crumbling. So if you're a man hearing this, and you feel that stirring, that quiet voice saying, there's more to you than this, don't ignore it. Don't brush it off. Don't numb it. Answer it. Because this world doesn't need more men chasing pleasure. It needs more men anchored in principle. Men who lead without needing control. Men who love with clarity, not confusion. Men who can look temptation in the face and still walk straight. That's the call, and only a few ever answer it. Not because the others aren't capable, but because rising requires sacrifice. And the man willing to make that sacrifice, to endure the loneliness, the silence, the discipline, the waiting, that's the man who changes everything. So now you know, when you see that man walking past distractions with fire in his eyes and silence in his mouth, understand, he's not cold, he's not arrogant, he's not running. He's becoming. And in a world that's desperate for applause, for attention, for empty validation, he's choosing the narrow road, the harder road, the higher road. Because high-value men don't ignore women out of hate, they do it out of honor, out of intention, out of respect for the mission they're on and the future they refuse to forfeit. This isn't about isolation, it's about elevation. It's about rising so high within yourself that you no longer chase what was never meant to keep you grounded. You let go of noise to make room for purpose. You let go of temporary comfort to make room for eternal calling. So if you're that man listening right now, standing in the middle of your own storm, let this be your reminder. You don't need to prove your value. You need to protect it. Stay focused. Stay disciplined. Stay uncommon in a world begging you to settle. Because the world doesn't change when men give in. It changes when men rise up. And the man who rises, who guards his energy, honors his mission, and walks with unwavering vision. He won't have to chase what's meant for him. You'll attract it. Because greatness doesn't follow the loudest. It follows the most aligned. So rise, not for applause, not for revenge, not for validation. Rise, because your future is waiting on the man you haven't become yet. And he's counting on you to show up. Now go and build.